Hey, what's up everybody? Nick here. It was my birthday week this week. 1 year older, hopefully 1 year wiser. Hey, I was hanging out with Ian and he said, you know what, for this episode of Netting Up, I have a question that I wanted to ask you that can get you kind of reflecting on stuff. Isn't that right?
Yeah, like this is just a personal question that I really want to know from Nick himself, and so might as well make it an episode, and it should be pretty interesting.
Might as well, so here we go.
Okay, so Nick, if you can go back in time and visit your 19-year-old self, what top 3 advices would you give to yourself?
Definitely the first thing I would say is to embrace the ugly. Man, I look back on the last few years and I remember, I feel like I went to hell and back multiple times. I feel like I'm too young to have gone through certain things, and so if I were looking at my 19-year-old self, I'd say, hey, embrace the ugly. You know, I felt like I looked the devil in the eyes as he dragged me through the pits, going from everything from losing my father prematurely, after spending 15 years in hospital, and then finding out from my wife at the time that there was an adulterous relationship throughout the duration that we were married, and then having my entire life savings stolen from me, to all the business endeavors that didn't quite work out, and on and on and on. And look, I know we all have our own little sob stories or whatever, but I feel like in life we're told to embrace the good, to fast forward through the bad, and to avoid the ugly. But I have found that life is best lived when you can experience the fullness of it in all of its highs and in all of its lows. So rather than trying to fast forward through the bad stuff or even try to avoid the bad stuff, I found that when I found myself in my lowest of lows, in the pit where I felt like I had nowhere to go, I started to find healing, and I started to find my way out of that the moment I just embraced it. And I said, I'm going to embrace the ugly. I'm not going to rush through it. In fact, I heard someone once say that pain was meant to be felt. And that really hit me, to realize that when you're in your darkest moments, don't try to rush out of it, but realize that this is a gift from life, a gift to fully experience the lowest of lows so you can appreciate the highest of heights. So don't speed through it. Embrace the good, embrace the bad, and embrace the ugly, and I think you'll get through life a lot easier that way. The second thing I think I would tell my 19-year-old self is the realization that people are not a means to an end, that people are the end. You know, when I was first starting out in my life and my business and trying to figure it all out, I had all these great ambitions and dreams, and I wrote down my goals, and I wrote them down, I made it plain, and I looked at it and I repeated them every day, and I, followed the formula to success. And really the path was, hey, as I'm going on this path, I'm gonna go aggressively, and if I meet a new person or someone comes in my life, if they were there to help me, then great, I would figure out a way to bring them into my life to help me hit that goal. But if they weren't there to help me, I felt like I would just ignore them and push them off, and then if anyone ever got in my way, it was like just steamroll over them, because one thing mattered, and that was the goal and the destination. And then I realized, as I started to achieve certain levels of things, and my friend Jason Gaynor taught me this, that when it's all said and done, there's only 2 things we have with us. One is the integrity of our word, and secondly is the impact of our relationships. And I realized that when this was all said and done, if I had achieved everything that I wanted to achieve, but I hurt people along the way, or I didn't have great camaraderie with friends and family along the way, what was it worth? And that's when it kind of dawned on me that the people are not a means to an end, that people are the end. That life was meant to live in connection, that life was meant to live hand in hand with the people we know, like, and trust and love. And so if I was talking to my 19-year-old self, I'd say, hey, don't think that people are there to help you get or achieve something, that people are there for you and you are there for people. And so remember that it's an act of service to people that you really accomplish anything, that people are not a means to an end, that people are the end itself. And thirdly, I think if there's one piece of business advice that I could give to my 19-year-old self who was just kind of starting out to try to figure all this out, it's the realization that the amount of impact and the amount of income and the amount of exploration and positivity that you can make in life is directly proportioned to the amount of value that you give to the marketplace. You know, I grew up learning direct response marketing, and everything was about the sale. You know, ABC, always be closing. And so you'd read books and take courses on copywriting and sales and influence and persuasion and all of that. And soon you forget that your role as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner is not necessarily just to create a transaction, but it's to make a better place for somebody. It's to help serve somebody. It's to help make a better life. And so I believe there's two real laws of marketing or advertising your business today on the internet. Rule number one is you must give before you ask. You must see yourself as a value provider, someone who contributes to the industry, for then they will start to see you as a trusted authority. They will see you as a leader, and then business will be that much easier. And rule number two, every step of your marketing process should be valuable in and of itself, meaning that every interaction that a potential client or customer might have with you, they would walk away from that experience feeling like that they actually got value, that their life was made better in some way, shape, or form. So the advice here, if I was starting out all over again, is not to worry about the transaction, not to always be closing, not to think about only the dollar and the revenue number at the end of the day. But if you really want to make it work, if you want to take your business to new levels and be seen as a trusted authority in your marketplace, that you put people first and that you lead with value and you help people get a result even before they transact with you. For when you lead and provide value first, then the income and then the impact and all the other good stuff that comes with having a business follows thereafter. So there you have it. You know, if I had to go back years to my more foolish, less wise 19-year-old self who was kind of getting started with life and business, those would be the three things that I would tell him. And hopefully somewhere in there is something that you could take and use for your life and business. But always remember, I don't regret anything. I wouldn't take anything back, because I do believe that we are truly a sum total of all the experiences and all the people and all the challenges that we've had that has brought us to who we are and what we are today. So that doesn't mean you go back and you regret, but it does mean if you could learn lessons from people who've gone there first or learned a lesson first, that's probably the better way to do it. So I encourage you to take 1, 2, or 3 of these lessons, see how you can apply them in your life and business, and hopefully it'll make a difference. Until next week, that was another episode of Netting Up. We'll see you soon. It's a little high though.
Yeah. Nice. There you go. Pro.
Yeah, we got it.